Finger on the trigger, finger on the trigger. Finger on the trigger, finger on the trigger. Heart is beating in my head, feeling numb with every breath, smoke and fire all around. Finger on the trigger, finger on the trigger. I said time is running out. Finger on the trigger, finger on the trigger. Over and we all fall down. Finger on the trigger, finger on the trigger.
I have a story here from you. It's from Crystal. She says, I want to share my story with you. I comment on your videos under my business name. I don't leave the name. I'm not going to say the name. I've been watching for months, but recently started commenting. I commented on how I was doing this alone with my 15-year-old son. I'm in the process of moving from Arizona to an off-grid property in this area. Over the past year, I've been stocking up food, ammo, camping, supplies, generators. Every 2 weeks, I make an hour drive to deliver this to my off-grid home. Awesome. Every month, I take my son on camping trips, teaching him survival skills. If this isn't a blueprint for what we all need to do, I don't know what is. Yesterday, I got a text message from my neighbor who lives on the 40 acres next to my off-grid home asking if I was there because lights were on. I was still in this area packing my vehicle to get ready to make the 4-hour drive. I asked if they would go check on the property, and they did. They stopped and grabbed another neighbor, and they brought their self-defense tools. Upon arrival, they witnessed my off-grid home being burglarized. The thieves rushed off in their white Escalade down the driveway, driving so fast that my ammo boxes and air compressor, one of my generators, fell out of their trailer onto the side of the road. My neighbors chased them down along a long, windy, bumpy road until they reached the county's paved road. That's when the thieves' Escalade gained speed and my neighbor's SUV could not keep up, and they got away. My neighbors returned to their property and picked up all the items that fell off the trailer, returned them to me. That's when they called me and told me the rest of the horror story. The thieves had broken one of my reinforced windows after mangling the locks on my storm doors. The keyholes are ruined, but they weren't able to get in through the doors. All of my kitchen cabinets were yanked out of the house, and they were on my front porch ready to be loaded up onto the trailer. Yes, even the kitchen sink. Inside my living room, they boxed up all my emergency food supplies, dishes, and cookware. They were preparing to steal it as well. Their half-eaten dinner was still on my table, with multiple open bottles of my wine. Police stated they must have been in my home for at least a couple of days. They put tinfoil on the windows to try to hide the lights. They broke into my solar shed, tried to steal my batteries. They tried to steal my backup propane generator, but it's also bolted down. They went through my tool shed, helped themselves to power tools. They stole my gas generator, gasoline. They stole my self-defense tools. All of my locks have been busted. The shipping container doors are bent. They stole my camping supplies. So far, this is all that I have inventoried.
All right, guys, today I'm coming at you as both a security professional and your brother in Christ. As a security professional, I have to tell you, just as you can gather from the introduction to this video, lawlessness is everywhere. Crime rate has gone up exponentially. As a matter of fact, here in Memphis, as of 3 days ago, we were named the most violent and dangerous city in America according to FBI statistics. Yet again. All right, Memphis, give yourself a big round of applause. This is what your liberal agenda in your city has accomplished. Bravo. Fine for people like me, although sure, it adds a certain level of increased threat to me and my crew. However, we train regularly. We don't take these things lightly. And unlike the police, if one of your cousins, your boyfriend, your boo, your baby daddy, nephew, niece, whatever, attacks us and is dumb enough to pull a firearm or charge at us with a weapon, and they get taken down, there's no legal means for you to come after us. We just get moved to another contract. That's it. We know the difference between a justified and righteous shooting in the eyes of the law and something that can be viewed as petty or nonsensical. So, you should probably consider that. Now, for everybody out there, you heard me say it before, I'll say it again, the police are not your friends. Or at least not in large cities, some of the smaller counties and stuff, some of the law enforcement there is still good people. But I've been a personal witness to what's happened to the so-called police force in large cities. So this is what happens when you have ultra left-wing, liberal, George Soros-backed attorneys that are, DAs that are taking charge of things. This is what happens when you have police chiefs that are brought in that have a stained record filled with corruption and questionable ethical behavior, moved from places like Atlanta and put in charge of police departments like we have here in Memphis. This is what happens. You don't get justice. You don't get arrests. You don't get criminals running in fear of the law. No. You don't get that at all. What you get is criminals that should be charged with a felony getting let off completely scot-free, like happened a couple weeks ago with one of my associates over at his contract. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and tell you that story. It's a good one. So, a buddy of mine works contract over by Wolf Chase, right? And he witnessed a black sedan pull up across the road from the contract that he's under, and a little black thug gets out, little skinny black dude, runs into that parking lot, and then about 10 minutes later, while the manager of the property that my buddy's over was standing there watching with him, came back with armfuls of stuff that he had gotten out of cars that he'd broken into, threw it in the back seat, and as he threw it in the back seat and got back in the passenger seat, an MPD patrol car rolls up on scene. The thugs sped off, high rate of speed, while my buddy was flagging them down, telling them to go after them, trying to tell them they just broke into vehicles, go get them. Rather than MPD pursuing them, you know what they did? They pulled over and wanted to talk to my associate and the manager. My associate informed them what had just happened, asked, why didn't you do something about it? And MPD's response was, we're not allowed to give chase. Yeah, that was their response. Manager told them they were, quote, effing worthless, which is technically true. And then my associate told him, said, you know what, why don't you guys try doing your dang job and get a couple other patrol cars over here to find out whose vehicles were broken into where they got all that loot from. So after about 15 minutes, that's what they did. And then not 5 minutes later, that same jerk that had broken into those vehicles pulled on to the property that my associate works at. My associate held him under arrest told MPD to come over there. You know what they did? They grilled him for a few minutes. The guy confessed to breaking into those vehicles and stealing from those cars. Not only did he confess to it, but he even called his associates that were in the other parking lots around there that were breaking into the cars at that time, had them come over to his vehicle. Confessed to the crime, mind you. You know what MPD did? Nothing. They let them go. Didn't even write them a ticket. Didn't arrest anybody. Let the criminals go. You know, it's a sad state of affairs when more justice takes place at the hands of me and people like me than law enforcement. That's sad. It's pathetic. People ask why I won't join the police force here. There's your answer. Corruption. People more concerned about their pension and their paycheck than they are doing what's right. And the ones that do what's right get fired or they get hung out to dry. This is the state of the country we once called America. That's it. This is the state of the country we once called America. What do you think about that? Go ahead and tell me. Love to hear it. Simple fact of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is all that story does is illustrate my point to you that law enforcement's not going to do anything. You need to take your personal safety and accountability into your own hands. You need to become independent from the system. You need to be able to put the threat down and stop it, should it arise. And with the increase in crime that we're seeing across the United States, odds are you're going to have to deal with that eventually. You need to harden down your property. There's thugs that are pulling into people's driveways, breaking into their cars, stealing firearms and anything that's not tied down, even drilling holes into the people's gas tanks and stealing the fuel out of the cars. Yeah. It's, how do I put this delicately? It's no big secret the way that I view these thugs. It's not. And it's no big secret the way that I view the police departments now. One of them is nothing more than a parasite that wants to feed and exists like a cancer that's rotting and eating away the core of a system and making victims out of innocent people. The other has people inside of it that are parasitic and does the same thing, while the rest of them simply turn a blind eye, which in my opinion makes them worse than the thugs. It is what it is. But I didn't come on here today to rant and rave and whine and complain about the way that I view things or the way that I'm seeing the way the world goes. Actually, no, I came on here today to tell everyone, keep your head on a swivel. Be very mindful of your surroundings and what's going on around you. The lawlessness that's ramped up is eventually going to touch everybody. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And with the liberal economic nonsense that's going on right now, well, it's only going to get worse. Right now, you're dealing with thugs and worthless lowlives that think they have a right to what others have. What happens when this situation goes from bad to worse as far as economic recession we're facing goes, and you start having desperate moms and dads trying to feed their children? Eventually, it's going to happen. And I had a dream last night. I was debating on whether or not I was going to go into this or not. But given what took place in Chicago today, I feel that the dream is important and that the Lord did give it to me. So it needs to be addressed. Before I give you the dream, allow me to enlighten you on what's going on in Chicago as of today.
Hunt is underway in the US after at least 6 people were killed and another 24 were admitted to hospital in a 4th of July Independence Day parade mass shooting. The Highland Park Parade, which is just north of Chicago, was halted 10 minutes after it began when gunshots rang out throughout the crowd. Witness accounts report as many as 25 shots were heard in rapid succession. Confirmed the lone shooter was positioned on a nearby rooftop overseeing the parade, and a rifle was found at the scene. Police say they are looking for a white male between the age of 18 and 20 with long black hair and a small build. Authorities say the shooter is still at large and are asking residents to avoid the area.
Okay, now you know the state of affairs in Chicago. I don't believe this is going to be the last one we see. I believe that it's orchestrated, and I believe that it's either an activated, multiple type individual that's working at the behest of the government, or it's straight involved with the government and the politicians that are in Chicago and DC, and the story about the young skinny man with the black hair and everything, the white guy. I believe that it's fabricated. It's one of the two. Those are the only two possibilities that I see in this. I had a feeling this morning that something like this was going to take place, and I don't think it's going to be the only one. Last night, normal day, hung out with the dogs, played with them, did everything I needed to. Went to bed last night. Got to sleep around 1-ish, somewhere around there, which in my world that's actually not bad. And I got a dream. I do believe that this was from the Lord, being as there's certain things that I try to check any dream that I remember out with, and I always seek the Lord in prayer to make sure that I have proper understanding of what I'm seeing and things of that nature. And this one fit all my personal check marks. For starters, what was taking place in the dream could not have been triggered by food or drink or anything that I had watched or consumed as far as media goes. Simply because nothing lined up with any of that. Let's see here. In the dream, I was in this warehouse type building, kind of like a Costco, Sam's Club, something like that, right? And I was walking around, and all of a sudden, I get attacked by this, I'll call it what it is, an alien. Anyone that knows anything about the fallen angels, Genesis chapter 6, and you already know where the direction I'm going with this, okay? Anyways, this alien attacked me, and it looked kind of like the ones from the Alien movies, the big long head, and, the xenomorphs, or whatever they're called. I'm not exactly sure what they called those things. Anyways, it looked like that. Dark, thick, black exoskeleton, attacked me, tried to kill me. I drew my gun, I shot it, it died, right? And then I left the area that I was in and started walking through this warehouse store, and I could see the cashiers and everything. Because when I first walked into the place, all the humans and everything, everybody looked normal, right? Everybody looked perfectly normal. However, after I was attacked by this alien and I walked back out, I noticed that there were aliens that looked like this one, except they were a different color. They were like this brownish color instead of the hard, shiny black, right? And I was looking, and even though I could see them in this form, they were behaving like they were when I first walked in, like they were human, walking up and down the aisles, looking at groceries, looking talking with people and things like that. Some of them were cashiers, some of them were other people in the store. And then as I watched, I noticed one at a time, they would start to change, and they would go from that brown color and then turn to that black color, and their behavior would change, and they become very animalistic and start attacking people, right? So I grabbed a couple of people that I was with in the dream, and we ran out to the parking lot and got in my SUV and fled the area, left, and went to a safe location, out in the middle of nowhere, and waited and watched and started noticing the people that were out there in the surrounding area that would walk by and stuff like that. Some of them would have that form too, and gradually they would start to change, and you would have to fight them and kill them and everything else. And every time I would wake up from this dream, I'd get a drink of water, use the restroom, something like that, lay back down, go back to sleep, and as soon as I went to sleep, it's right back in it, right back in that dream. Couldn't escape it. No matter how many times I woke up, went back to sleep, thrown right back into it. I believe this represents that the aliens represent chosen ones, people that were programmed either by the government or by the covens. I believe that them changing from the brown camouflage type tone to the black animalistic violent ones represents them being activated. I think what's going on in Chicago today is a good representation of that. Right now, we are dealing with thugs and people that are basically parasites. They think they're owed everything in the world, and they have no qualms about taking what you worked hard for as long as it suits what they desire, suits their needs. All right? So, that's one thing. Eventually, we go down the path of economic turmoil, food supply disruption, fuel cost, energy, and eventually, with all the government corruption going about, people are becoming unstable. They're becoming unhinged. They're becoming very mad. They're becoming more extreme by the day as far as what actions they're willing to take. And this is what's happening on the light end. Eventually, these chosen ones will be activated. They will receive their signal and their instructions, and they will go and they will follow them out. This is going to increase the chaos that you see 1,000 times over. So please, harden your defenses. Any way capable. I'm more than willing to give people what advice I can. If you reach out to me via email, Archangel. Is it Archangel at ProtonMail? I think it's Archangel22 at ProtonMail.com. I'll put the link or the email in the description. Or, actually, an easier way for you to reach me would probably be just to go follow our ministry page on Facebook, and then you can message me directly on there. And I will do my best to give what advice I can to help people out. Harden your defenses, guys. If you live on a property, like some of my family does and things like that, where you have a long driveway and everything else, if you don't have a gate on that driveway, install one. If you can't afford a gate, then put a couple of 4x4 posts in the ground, cement them in, and run a chain between them or a steel cable to prevent anyone from being able to access your place with a car. The goal is to buy time. Get dogs. Make sure they're properly trained, taken care of, that they're bonded and attached to you the way they should be. At the very least, there'll be a good warning system and an alarm system. Best case scenario is they're going to defend you with their own life because of that attachment. Especially if you give them the proper training. Firearms, if you don't have one, get one. And don't just get one, Learn how to take it apart, learn how to clean it, learn how to strip it, and learn how to use it properly. All right? Understand the laws and stuff in your area. That way, if you should have to use said firearm on an individual, you will know that you are within your rights under the laws of that state and can be justified in a court of law. Because we're not at complete lawlessness yet. So until that time comes, there's certain rules and stuff that we still need to make sure that we're playing by. All right? Just take my advice, take care of this stuff, and do it now. Make sure your preparations and stuff are in order, because I don't see this going on for much longer before things start to get really shifty and really shady. Alright guys, so that's all that I had for you today. If you're running out and about this 4th of July, if you're in a major city or not, mind your P's and Q's. Do not leave anything in your vehicle that is of value, especially not firearms or anything that they could steal that would allow them to cause harms to others. Alright? Just take my advice on this. Do not leave anything of any value in your vehicle. If it looks valuable, don't leave it. And if you do, make sure it's very, and I mean very, well hidden. Alright guys? Alright. Having said that, this is Archangel. I'm out for the day. You guys have a blessed one. Enjoy your 4th.